Good morning. It is time to skip the BS. It is time for Undisputed. It is time for me to say hey to my two favorite sparring partners, the two former NFL stars and lifelong Laker fans. Keyshawn Johnson, Richard Sherman, whose Lakers last night lost again to the Clippers, whose Lakers fell to 22-23, ninth place in the West, while the Clippers, the team in the basement at the crypt, has risen all the way to 28-14, just a game and a half out of first place in the West. Oh, the shame. Good morning to you two, and congratulations.
Yeah, Skip. Congratulations.
Good morning.
Come on,
the Clippers beat the Lakers. Yay.
Let's hang up a banner for them.
Well, you guys hung one, and that's the last I've seen of you guys, right?
I told Keyshawn we shouldn't.
I know, you said it. All right, we're going to get to our AFC and NFC championship game predictions and our dinner bets in just a few minutes. But let's start and stay in the NBA, as I just mentioned. Biggest shocker of the day yesterday, if not of the entire NBA season, was first-year Milwaukee Bucks coach Adrian Griffin. Fired after just 43 games, likely to be replaced by Doc Rivers. Okay, let's start with this. Keyshawn, please. Did Adrian Griffin deserve to be fired in your estimation?
You know, it's funny, Skip, because the word deserve, right? It's second in the conference right now behind Boston. You say to yourself, does he deserve to be fired? I don't think, I wouldn't characterize it as being deserved to be fired. I would look at it as saying, hey, does the Milwaukee Bucks deserve to go in another direction if they don't think things is working out with Griff at the head coaching spot? If that's what they chose to do, even though their record indicates something different, I think when you look at the defensive efficiency, you look at last year, and you mentioned it, they were going to lose something, as you said before, Skip, with Drew Holiday no longer there. They're all of a sudden, they were fourth in defensive efficiency. They're in the 20s now. So there's a big disparity right there on that. Now you talk about, okay, what do they do? Who do they go hire? I mean, we're not even at the midway point, right? This is still the beginning of the season, and you say, well, Doc Rivers is who they're flirting with. That is the name that's floating out there, and I'm sure within the next 24 hours or so, he'll probably get hired in this situation. Is that a good hire for them? I think so. I think Doc's a really good NBA basketball coach who had great success in Boston, mild success with the Clippers, and very little success to a degree with the 76ers. But he knows how to coach basketball. So now when you look at it with Doc Rivers, the one thing that you don't want to do is get to be 3-1 in the playoffs. Because you know what happens when he's 3-1 in the playoffs. He crumbles. So if they can get to 2-2 in the playoffs, because essentially, if you just look at the big three that he had in Philadelphia, so to speak, and you look at this three, it's kind of comparable, right? You had Joel Embiid. Now all of a sudden, there's a possibility that you could have Giannis, and then you get Dame Lillard and Middleton. You had Maxey and Harden along with Embiid. So you look at that and you say, well, you didn't get far in that situation, but can somebody with the dominance and the personality that Giannis comes with take Milwaukee over the hump and come out of the East with Doc Rivers as a coach? I think they can. I think it could potentially be a game changer for them.
Yeah. I don't think it was deserved, Skip. I think you as a rookie head coach, after you fire Coach Bud, who had this team playing really well throughout most of the season. I mean, all his time there, they were the highest scoring team, the most wins since 2018 to 2023. Then you fire him because he loses the series to the Heat, which, it seemed like everybody lost the series to the Heat but the Denver Nuggets. And you fire him and you say, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. We can do better. You say, we need another big-time scorer, big-time playmaker. But to get him, we have to sacrifice our defensive-minded guard, who Drew Holiday, who we use to stop everybody, who changes fundamentally changes the outlook of our defense. And you get Dame Lillard, who is not known for defense, but is known for scoring. Dame Lillard can put the ball in the basket. Dame Lillard comes over, your defense drops. What did you expect? I mean, what did you expect? And so I don't understand the firing halfway through his rookie year coaching when you say they were, to my notes, they were 14th in defense efficiency last year. Now they're 22nd. And you expect that kind of drop off when you go from a defensive-minded point guard to one of the best offensive-minded point guards in the league. And then you go on to say, yeah, Dame Lillard isn't scoring as many points as he did last year. Well, Dame was pretty much by himself last year. He can do whatever he wants. He getting the ball. He getting as many shots up as he needs. Now you got Giannis. You got Giannis, and Giannis needs his. And Giannis is going to get his points. He's going to get – the system's going to be designed around him, and you're going to have to navigate and figure that out. You didn't even give this coach a full season to try to figure out how to make these pieces work. These are two totally different – this is a totally different basketball team than it was last year or the year before that or the year before that. And you got to find out how to integrate Dame into this culture, into this team. And instead of letting him figure it out, you fire him. And I guess, you know, the 40-point loss to the Cavs on January 17th was a boiling point, but you didn't even have Giannis in the game. So I don't understand really why the firing happened. I mean, I guess I need more information, more internal information. Maybe things weren't going well. Maybe he didn't get along with the players as well. But why'd you fire Coach Bud then, you know?
Well, there's a lot of reports that's out there, Skip, as you know, that Griff didn't win the locker room over. He lost the locker room. He lost the players. They stopped wanting to be a part of what he was teaching. That's the rumor mill suggests that. And they made the decision based on those sort of things. But it's interesting that that's even brought up because if you remember, and I love Doc Rivers, I've been knowing Doc Rivers for a very, very, very long time. If you remember
Likewise.
Doc Rivers, Skip, out here in Los Angeles, that's what happened with the Clippers and Paul George and company. They kind of fell out of favor with those guys. And so now you're going to possibly insert him in Milwaukee. You know, some of that went on in Philadelphia with James Harden and company, that they kind of fell out with Doc Rivers. So it'll be interesting to see if they, in fact, go ahead and pull the trigger, how the players are going to respond to Doc as the coach.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you two played in the National Football League. And that game, to me, because I've covered both very closely, is very different than the game that's played in the National Basketball Association. The big difference is that the basketball league is more of a players' league, and your league is more of an all-for-one league, where the players don't actually run the sport quite the way the NBA players run their sport. Would you guys agree on that sort of principle, that premise?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I would say that the general managers and the owners have a little more control in football.
A little more control. Okay. So what just happened was that Giannis and Dame just said no to Adrian. They just said, no, it's just not going to work. It's not a fit for us. And I believe in the end, they fired this very young first-year head coach. I mean, he's not young in age, but he's a first-year head coach. So the point is, it wasn't working for them because it was already flawed from the start. And Keyshawn, you brought it up. I first guessed this. I said, you're going to lose. And Richard obviously alluded to it. You're going to lose a whole lot on defense if you trade Drew Holiday and replace him with Dame. Dame right now is ranked 81st in defensive win shares, individual defensive win shares in the league. So he's never been much of a defender, and he's still not much of a defender. But even worse for Dame, his offense has suffered because, remember, they brought his head coach from Portland, Terry Stotts, in to be the assistant and sort of the mentor or guiding light for young Adrian Griffin as a first-year head coach. And what happened before the year started? Terry Stotts and Adrian got into it and clashed over the offensive use of Dame. And Terry quit before is back in the preseason. He said, I can't take it. I'm out. Well, that was the first sign on the locker room wall that this was not going to go well, because Dame never quite got along offensively with Adrian Griffin. And then Adrian tried to instill and impose on the Bucks that Toronto defensive system that he taught so well under Nick Nurse in Toronto, which is that pressure pressing perimeter scheme. And they don't play like that. Giannis wasn't comfortable with that, and it was pulling Brook Lopez too far out from under the basket, where he is one of the best rim protectors, as we know, in the game. Strategies, philosophies weren't working. So all of a sudden, you're going to lose because you opted, as you both acknowledge, for star power, offensive star power over defensive firepower. And you've lost your edge. You've lost your tone setter in Drew Holiday on defense. And so, as Richard pointed out, they were fourth. They finished fourth in defense last year. They're 22nd in defense right now. It's not good enough, even though they're 30-13, to contend with Boston if you get to a championship round in the East. So I can't condemn the firing. I think it's cold-blooded. I think it's not fair to Adrian Griffin. I think he could make a very good head coach. He deserves a second opportunity that's not as flawed as this one was from the start. And yet, Keyshawn, you mentioned Doc. I know Doc well. You've been around him for a long time. It's funny to me because we think he's going to be the next head coach here. He obviously played college basketball at Marquette in Milwaukee, so he would be a hometown sort of favorite. But the Doc I know, as we speak, he's looking at this situation saying, I don't know, man.
Right.
It's like it reminds me of Michael Clark Duncan in Talladega Nights saying to Ricky Bobby, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby, because this is an evil, man. This is like, how can you win with this? Like, if Doc comes in and takes over this team, it's championship or bust. Doc, can you turn this completely around and go beat Boston?
Skip, I think no matter where Doc would coach next at, because it's Doc Rivers, is going to be championship or bust.
Right.
He can take the worst team in the NBA. People are going to assume they're going to a championship because, again, he has won a championship. He's been to 2 finals with the Celtics. He's had the Clippers in the running before. He's gotten the 76ers into the playoffs. So people are automatically going to assume this is an easy fix. Now, one of the things that I would say about Adrian Griffin aligned with these veteran players, I think it's a better move to have a veteran coach be able to align themselves with a veteran coach, because a veteran coach like a Doc Rivers has a better, I would think he has a better understanding of the pressure points for Dame Lillard, for Giannis, for Lopez, for Middleton, to understand, Skip, how to put them in the right places for a confidence level, because NBA is all about the players. At the end of the day, you put it on autopilot when you got these type of dudes.
I agree.
Then you just make a little move. It's almost like,
I agree.
It's almost like Major League Baseball, Skip. You know, the managers are good for 5 wins. That's it. The rest is all about the players.
Yeah, and I think it's tough because I don't know if I've ever heard of this kind of situation working out, ending in an NBA championship, where you fire your coach mid-season and then your team goes on.
I can tell you where it worked out at, in Miami. Pat Riley. Pat Riley came from the booth down to the floor, and they won the NBA Finals.
But he was already connected to the organization.
Yeah, he was connected to the organization.
And that's Pat Riley.
Yeah, of course. I'm just saying, you said I wanted you to know that.
I appreciate that history lesson, because I did not know that. But it just seems like a situation, and it's not like, and I understand what you're saying about the expectations for Doc, but he hasn't had a tremendous amount of success outside of Boston.
Doesn't matter, though, Richard.
And that's all I'm saying is, it's for him to have that expectation, and it's not like he's gotten along necessarily with superstars consistently. There was beef with Chris Paul. There was beef with, and then James Harden in Philly, and then Joel Embiid. So it's not like sometimes he rubs guys the wrong way the same way. And so it's not like there's a guarantee that he fits in with Giannis and Dame and doesn't rub them the same wrong way that he rubbed the other superstars. Or they could get along. But if the expectation is that all of a sudden the defense is going to get better because of Doc Rivers, I just don't know if that's true, because that's not Dame's game. That's not what he's not going to be a defensive stopper no matter what. He's going to put the ball in the basket. He's going to score points. He's going to be an offensive-minded player, and he's going to have that kind of success as he had his entire career. And if you're expecting that to turn around regardless of who the coach is, I think you're out of your mind. And that's where I don't understand the firing. Because the things that you're trying to address, hey, they're not getting along with him. Hey, they don't buy into the scheme. Hey, they don't. I don't know if those things change, even if you hire Doc Rivers, because maybe he goes back to Bud's scheme, but then you're just reverting back to what they did well last year. You know, as you said, they were fourth in defensive efficiency. Well, maybe he shouldn't have fired him in the first place, because now you're literally just trying to get back to where you were, and you fired the guy because he lost to a hot Miami Heat team that really ran through the playoffs last year. And so if you don't make a knee-jerk reaction in that situation, you still have Bud, you still have a great defense, you don't make a knee-jerk trade for Dame and get rid of Drew Holiday, then, you don't have these same issues, but maybe your issues are scoring. And now you're number one in scoring, but you're not happy with it. So it's like, you're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul and getting frustrated with the results.
And Richard, remember this also. Management in Milwaukee loves Doc, has known Doc for a long time, and brought Doc in fairly consistently this year as he worked for ESPN as an analyst to help mentor Adrian. So Doc has been around Adrian and the team and the dynamic and the situation and all the issues. He knows what's going on inside that team because he's been around the team on and off all year long. So management is saying, well, at least he has a feel for the team in the first place. But to your point, he hasn't won since 2008. So we're 16 years removed from a team that featured, obviously, Paul and KG and Ray and Rondo. And Doc did a masterful job at, as Key said, 2 finals, won one of them against the Lakers, as you well remember. And yet it's been so long for Doc. And Key, just the stats that you brought up, remember, he's blown 3 3-1 leads in the playoffs.
That's why they got to go 2-2.
4. Yeah, there you go.
Sweep.
But he's blown 4 3-2 leads. 4 times they've been up 3-2, and he blew all 4 of them. He also blew a 2-0 lead, and in series in which, in 7-game series in which they've had 3 wins, he's 16-33 with 3 wins in a 7-game series. So think about that. It's horrendous. It's all-time bad.
So why is he, if and you're reading the numbers are what the numbers speak, they're the facts, why is he held in such high regard amongst the NBA community?
I think you could speak to this. He's such a good guy, and he's so smart, and he speaks basketball so fluently, and you would think that, like Phil Jackson, he could juggle superstar egos because Doc has superstar in him. He was not a superstar player, but he's a very good player. And he's just so charismatic. He's so personable, so likable. You've been around Doc a lot. I mean, you just can't help but like him, right?
Yeah, I
think he's built up a lot of goodwill around the league just with his personality.
It's tough to win in these leagues in general, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's football, whether it's basketball. It's just hard to, there's only one team coming out in the end.
Right.
Is he the most qualified, best coach available? Probably so right now. Probably in this type of situation where everything aligns itself, where he is a frequent visitor, as you say, to the Milwaukee Bucks in the facility, and they kind of have a somewhat of a relationship. You trust the feeling that he can come in, and he may not fix the defense. That may not be the case, but enough adjustments to where they're not in the cellar, they're good enough to still compete because on the offensive end, they're dynamic. And so they can give up a little bit more on the defensive side and still be in the mix at the end of the year. I'm thinking that's the way the ownership group in Milwaukee is thinking about this possibility of bringing him in, because he could take them there and then go from there, opposed to sitting where they're sitting at with Adrian as the coach.
I just feel like the success he had in Boston, they bought into the culture. They bought in. They believed in what he said. They believed in one another. The superstars bought in, and once they buy in, it is what it is. When you're the substitute teacher or you're a part-time coach, you don't have to be there through the adversity. You don't have to be there through the hard times. You can walk out the building and come back when it's good and then walk out. But when you're the full-time head coach, you got to be there all the time. So I understand he's had this relationship and he's been there and he's helped out. But it's different when you're full-time and then things start going bad and guys start disagreeing with you and guys start being frustrated with minutes and hey, I'm not getting enough shots. You're not calling enough plays for me. Then things start to fall apart. So I think sometimes it's fool's gold when you say, hey, he's been around the team a lot and they really like him. It's like they like him because he's the substitute teacher. You know, he comes in every now and then. They put a movie on, they watch a movie, have a good time, get some laughs, and then he leaves. And so I just don't see this being a solution where you fire a head coach mid-season and then hire another coach and then win a championship.
You remind me of a kid that would throw spitballs at the substitute teacher.
Sheesh, not me. Not me. I get along with the substitute teacher. I was good in school.
Good in school. Come on. I think that was you, Keyshawn.
Yeah, when the substitute teacher was in school, though, Skip, I didn't go to class, so...
there it is.
Oh, well.
Wait.
How did it work out for me?
Look like it worked out well.
Keyshawn, did you even go to class when the real teacher was there? Or?
I took care of business. I think I'm okay.
Kids, don't miss class.
I think you're okay.
No, why are you telling them don't miss class?
Don't miss class.
Look at me. Worked out for me.
Don't miss class.
It's overrated.
You are something else.
All right, in a moment, we got to get back to the National Football League, the AFC Championship game. Richard Sherman is on deck. He's going to pick the winner of that game. Will he pick against Lamar Jackson?
Oh, that's easy.
No mercy. No mercy. No mercy. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.